everyone, and welcome to Conversations in Horror. I want to thank you for joining us on this glorious Halloween 2025 as we celebrate this amazing holiday by watching and listening to us talk about Halloween 4 and 5. In this episode, we're only going to talk about part 4, but please make sure to check out our other episode that we'll talk about Halloween 5. But if you haven't listened to our show before, what we do is we take an individual film and we have a conversation about it, which means we have a critique, analyze, and just a generally great conversation about a particular movie. Now, of course, you already know what that movie is, which is Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers from 1988. But what you don't know is who I'm going to be talking to about this movie. And I want to thank Dave Watkins for joining us this week to talk about Halloween 4. Thank you, Dave.
Yeah, thanks for having me back on. Happy Halloween season.
Happy Halloween. Yes, we hopefully you've been watching just as many horror films as we've been talking about because we have been doing a double dose of episodes every week for your enjoyment this Halloween season. And thankfully, you stuck with us to the very end of the month, very last day to celebrate by listening to us talk about these movies. Now, we're going to get straight into Halloween 4 because, some of us may have seen it when it came out. Some of us may have seen it later on. But, Dave, I want to kind of get your impressions. How did you come about with Halloween 4? Just kind of give us a rough estimate.
So this was a 1988 one,
88.
right? I remember seeing the trailer on TV, and I was still too young to go see it at the theater at the time, and I don't think I'd seen really the other ones yet at the time, but I did see the trailer, and I was like, I thought looked pretty cool. It was like Michael Myers was back. I knew who Michael Myers was, and it was the return of Michael Myers, and I was like, "Oh shit, he's back!" So I don't know. But yeah, I mean, and I remember. I think the first time I saw it, it was on one of those cable channels where they played 4 and 5 back to back with commercials. It's kind of, edited down, so it was kind of okay to watch when I was that young as I was, maybe. So it's they still had all the kills and stuff in there. But really, yeah, I watched them both back to back, and they kind of fit pretty good as a double bill because very they kind of flow into each other in a way, maybe in disappointing ways now. But uh, it's now upon rewatching this one, we'll hold off on 5 stuff for later. We can kind of just pretend like it doesn't exist at this point. I think it's probably the best thing to do. But but as far as watching this one, it is one of the better sequels. They don't take a lot of chances in it, but it's one of the most straightforward and better sequels,
Okay.
in my opinion. Anyway, I would say too that they kill off Michael Myers and Loomis in part 2, but they brought them back, both of them, for this one.
So, I can't remember how the age difference, the age gap between me and Dave were, but I had seen the first 3 Halloween movies before this one was released probably a billion times, and I'm barely, okay, this is 88, so I am 12 or 13 years old when this movie comes out. And I,
Yeah, I was doing the math on it earlier. I was 10. I was actually born on the day that the first Halloween came out. So is that so?
well, for me, I was dying to see this movie. I'd seen the first 3 a billion times because my mother had loved the Halloween movies, so I'd seen the first 3 a billion times, and I couldn't understand why I wasn't getting like the sequel, the Season of the Witch. Like, because the way the Season of the Witch ended, I was like, "What the hell? I need a
Yeah,
sequel." And so when part 4 came out, I was thinking originally when I saw the trailer, "Oh, I finally get to figure out what happens next in part 3."
yeah.
But it was the return of Michael Myers, and that made me even more happy because I thought they were fucking dead in part 2. So I didn't see the fourth one at the theater. I don't know why, to be honest with you, but I did convince my mother to get me the novelization of part 4. So I
You,
read the
yeah.
book.
It may not, yeah. It may have been hard for you to get into the theater though, because you're still underage at the time. I think they're a little more stickler for
Nah,
that at the time. You think they were cool with it as long as you had a parent with
I
you?
was seeing horror films
Oh,
at the Yin Yang, dude.
all right,
Yeah, I
yeah.
was. I'd have to go back and see, make a list of all the horror movies I saw in the '80s when I was way too young to be going to the movies. But my mother loved horror movies,
Yeah, yeah.
so I saw a lot of horror movies way before I should have been seeing them. Everything from Pet Cemetery, I saw that at the theater, to Leviathan, all these '80s movies that I saw in the freaking '80s. Yeah, dude, I
Yeah,
saw.
I mean, I was seeing them just not at the theater, but
Oh no, I was
it's
seeing them.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, 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 no. I saw all of them. I saw probably more Stephen King adaptations in the '80s at the theater than most people would ever bother to go see. Because my mother was a huge fan of Stephen King. I was reading Stephen King novels at
Yeah.
that age, dude. I was like reading that stuff because
Oh yeah, yeah. I was reading it too. Yeah,
that's how I
yeah.
remember that when this came out, because I was, out of all the franchises out there, Michael Myers has always been my favorite up until, of course, Chucky came out. Then Chucky became my favorite. But up until then, I didn't care anything about Jason Voorhees. Couldn't give two shits about Leatherface. And Nightmare on Elm Street was barely on my periphery. I think the first one came out in '84. So I don't even know
Yeah.
when the second one came out. But Michael Myers was like that was my jam there. So I would watch those every Halloween. I'd seen the first three so many times. By the time part four came out, and I don't even know when the first time I saw those movies was, but I remember my parents renting them, and we recorded them on our VHS to VHS, and then we watched them all the freaking time. It was ridiculous. And so when I saw Part 4 when it first came on VHS, and we rented it like the day it came out, I'm sure we rented it the day it came out because I was probably begging my parents to let me watch this movie. It became my favorite. I probably watched this a billion times as a kid. I just I would watch Part 1, Part 2, and then skip to Part 4 and make
Yeah.
that my Halloween go to for the longest time. And I've talked about this before in other podcasts where I used to have a tradition of watching all of the Halloweens, spend the entire Halloween day watching all of them, starting with the first one every year. I probably did for like 12 years before I finally stopped. I only stopped when they did Halloween age 20. By the time they got to age 20, I was like, okay, there's too many of these damn movies. I don't need to rewatch every one of them every Halloween.
All right. Yeah, I mean that's pretty cool. Halloween marathon. I like it. They used to be like that with Friday the 13th, I think, before they went past eight. Once it went past eight, it became like, okay, we can't do it. It's too many. But but I get that though. But it's I really like part three. I wish we were in a world where part three could have a sequel and this sequel could have existed in the same place.
Mhm.
If they could have branched out and just did both of them, that would have been cool. But I don't know. I mean, I don't think part three needed a sequel. I like the open-ended part three. I think part three was it is a post-apocalyptic
Mhm.
prequel, and I believe that at the end of part three there is an apocalypse, and that's that. Yeah, past that, I mean, I think that's where we're at with that one. I mean, I do like it that it could have possibly have he could have possibly convinced them otherwise, but it's very unlikely.
Yeah.
But I do like the open endedness of it, and I don't think we really needed an answer to what happens at the end of it.
Yeah, we don't. As grown-ups, we don't. But if you're
Yeah,
talking about a kid who's 12, 13, who finally
right.
watch this movies, dude, I needed the continuation. I felt the same way when I saw Evil Dead 2, and I didn't have an Evil Dead 3 right afterwards. I was like, dude,
Right, right.
Evil Dead 3. You had to wait years before
Yeah.
Army of Darkness came out. That's how I felt with this movie. I was so excited to see this movie. And you're right. It is a very almost straightforward kind of a slasher flick. Um, but the thing was, it was a Halloween movie that that no one asked for. That like they could have kept going with something completely different. Like for all intents and purposes, Loomis and Michael Myers are freaking burnt to a crisp. Like we didn't.
They didn't survive the end of part two. That explosion, you know, maybe Michael Myers because he's got supernatural powers, but then like I was really happy that I'm real happy that they brought Loomis back because I really like Donald Pleasance playing
Yes,
that
so do I.
character. But it doesn't make any sense. He has some scars on him, but it's like, it's like-
It blew up in the end
yeah,
of part two. It blew
yeah,
up, and you're seeing flames come out of Michael Myers' eyes in the mask. Like
yeah.
he shouldn't be able to see. He was shot in the eyes by Loomis in that movie. He should be able to see. He should be able to do anything. No,
How awesome is that part though in part two where they blow up?
yeah.
I'm pretty sure I may have saw that before seeing this. So it was like I thought that was such an awesome ending for those characters,
Oh
but
yeah.
I don't know. But I'm glad they got them back, even though they clearly died at the end of part two. There's no question about that. But
Yeah, and the cool thing is this film right here for me is one of the my early experiences with reading a novelization of a movie, not a movie, not reading a book that has been made into a movie, but a novelization of a movie. And then after I read this one, I read a lot of novelizations after that, and so to the point that I actually collect novelizations of films now. I
so
have not.
not just to clarify, novelizations are ones that are written after the movie's released based on what they see on screen. Is that how it goes?
They are based on the screenplay because
Okay.
they're
Yeah.
being written as the movie is being made. So they're usually based on the original screenplay, and when screenplays change during shooting, the novelizations don't necessarily reflect those changes. Though, therefore, the novelizations sometimes can be have cut scenes that were cut in the
Yeah.
movie, and they also can have stuff that was completely changed. You can read stuff like the Alien 3 novelization is different than the movie
Yeah.
because they cut so much
Yeah.
shit out of the movie. It's always fun to read
Yeah.
novelizations when they do that. But in my opinion, that's the reason why I like
Yeah.
reading novelizations.
I think I know I've read a few of them when I was younger. I do remember that happening, but not. Maybe I read like a few of them, maybe two or three is what I think. I do remember that happening though, and
Oh yeah,
getting a few of them. But
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
The thing is, they're not. I don't think they're a very big market. They're a very specific market. But they did Halloween. Uh, they did a Halloween 3 novelization. I think Halloween first one. I don't know if they did the second one. And I don't think they did any more until the reboots. But that's part of the thing about horror films. Horror films, there are a lot of novelizations for horror films out there because there's horror fans. We love to read this shit. We love to experience it in different ways. And so that's how some of us come into loving stuff like Halloween and Friday 13th and all the rest of them. Friday 13th novelizations are freaking expensive as shit because they didn't make a whole lot of them. They were
yeah,
limited runs. But uh, we come to horror in different ways. I came to horror really from my mother and her love of this stuff, but she also was an avid reader. So I came into Halloween and also Stephen King by reading a lot, even Dean Koontz, reading it first.
right. Yeah, I read a bunch of Dean Koontz
Yeah.
as well. Yeah,
So, but getting back to Halloween, the thing about this movie is this was a very fun slasher movie for me. I don't know about you, but one of the reasons why I enjoyed this so goddamn much is it was a very fun one. And even though no one really gets that interesting of a kill, you watch this movie and the kills are kind of what you would see in other slasher movies, and some of them, some of the kills may even be a little tame. Um,
yeah. But they
but
definitely are. They almost seem a little edited, and maybe they
yeah,
were or maybe they never shot them graphically.
I don't know.
There, he kills a lot of people in this one, and most people are killed off screen, but he goes on a friggin' rampage, including like a Terminator type of rampage that we don't get to see, but we see the
No,
aftermath at the police station completely annihilated.
yeah, it's so funny when I think about that scene. I keep thinking that maybe that was a little risque if you showed a bunch of police officers being killed by a slasher in their own precinct. But now we see that happen all the time in movies. I know we discussed Maniac Cop, where it was a
Right?
regular thing in each movie
Yeah.
where police
Yeah.
officers were all killed in their own precinct.
Right. It's kind of we saw that first in Terminator, and
Yeah,
then Maniac Cop kind of ripped it off. Here, I think that it was probably like a budget constraint,
yeah,
maybe, yeah, because I think there's a lot of like things that are implied in this film, like kills that happen off screen it's effective though. It actually works pretty good in a way because it kind of you fill it in with your imagination.
oh yeah, yeah. I don't think we need to see the precinct people get killed.
Yeah. I
Uh,
mean, we've seen it before anyway, but it can always be fun to see that, but
Yeah, well, this is
it,
Michael Myers. And the thing about I like about this movie is that for a lot of the sequences, especially when Danielle Harris's Jamie Lloyd is, yeah, Jamie. I was almost about to get the characters mixed up.
yeah.
Jamie Lloyd is having her nightmares, and she's seeing a nightmare man. We're, as the audience member, we're seeing like peripheral imagery of Michael Myers, and her perception is just a nightmare man because until
Yeah.
it's revealed to her that it's her cousin who's after her to kill her.
With
But this is
this,
all
yeah,
before he even shows up. You know. Um,
yeah. With Jamie Lloyd's an interesting character. She's a very young girl. I think she's around 9 or 10.
yeah.
Uh, but she is Laurie Strode's daughter. Unfortunately, Jamie Lee Curtis didn't want to come back for this one, and they killed her off between movies in a car accident. But she is Michael Myers' target since he doesn't have his sister to try to kill, so he's going to kill his niece. That's what,
Hmm.
yeah. But they also try to eventually try to connect her to him like psychically from what happens at the end of this film when she touches his hand.
Hmm.
But I do like the character, and they end up we can get into the end of it later, but it seemed like they set something up at the end of this one that doesn't pay off the way that everybody thought that it would later on.
Oh, you mean
Yeah,
with her?
yeah.
Yeah.
She picks the clown costume like he has at the very beginning of the first Halloween when they go to the store. She's with a new family called the Carruthers, and she's got a stepsister called Her name's Rachel, I believe, right?
Rachel.
Rachel. Yeah, and they're kind of like connected. They've kind of got a connection, so it's she they try to set her up like she could be the next Michael Myers, but they also give her more humanity than his character. We never saw a lot of him in the first one, but they give her more humanity and more connection, especially to her stepsister.
Hmm.
So I think it is natural that she doesn't go full psycho like everyone thought she might between the films.
Yeah, and I kind of, and when we get around to talking about part five, I kind of thought that was a letdown when they didn't go that way because that's what I was expecting. But the thing is, it's not until I rewatched this film several times and I kind of thought about it, the psychic link that she has with her uncle Michael Myers. She doesn't know who or what he is at first, which is why she calls him the Nightmare Man. But she has these feelings and this stuff that pays off more in part five, where she's really connected with her brother or her uncle. I always thought it was interesting just to keep that on the down low in this movie because it made for great atmosphere for this movie, even though they don't explain how all that shit comes about to begin with. Uh,
Yeah.
they never explain. I mean, literally, she's seeing Michael Myers in the mask before he actually gets the new mask at the discount market. But
Yeah.
she,
Yeah,
you know,
there is some of that. But
yeah, I think that's all really stuff that's for like jump scares for the audience more so than it is for the character because they don't really make much sense. Um, and I just get that feeling when I was rewatching it again for the podcast. I got that feeling even more. It was cool up until I started actually thinking about it critically. I was like, you're stretching it a little bit here, but that's, I guess, okay. Because I know you're trying to create this weird atmosphere between the Jamie character and her uncle, Michael Myers. Well, we'll keep rolling with it because even though it's a dumb concept in part five, I can see where they're going with it because I've seen part five already. But I'm not.
yeah. Yeah.
I don't
I
know how
think
you
that
feel about that.
well, I got mixed feelings on it. I think that they are trying. Here we are, 1988. We've had a lot of Friday the 13th,
Mm-hmm.
and these writers were trying to do something more creative and try to bring it to a different place, and they do that through 4, 5, and 6, and they kind of some people think they took it too far by the time we went to 6 with it, but they had some ideas that were very ambitious, lot significantly more different, trying to just. I guess I felt like they're trapped in a corner with these slasher films, and then they like we can't just have him come and kill people and have the same movie again. Even that's what people wanted. Like we have to add more plot to it, and they feel like they needed to do that, and they did, and it kind of works, but I think it takes away from it being scary when they try to add more other supernatural elements to it.
Yeah. Especially with part five and part six. I think this one is still in the rough stages before they try and go way out there. I think some of this connection that Jamie has with Michael Myers is just like we're trying to test
Yeah,
the
yeah.
waters of it. So
Yeah, it could completely have been, yeah, not even anything,
yeah,
at this point, because it
yeah.
just seems like it could have just been the way the scenes were cut together.
Yeah,
It's not.
and I can see where you're going with, but by the time the end and audiences were, I mean, or the filmmakers were thinking, well, maybe we finally killed Michael Myers, so we need a new killer, and we'll make the new killer Jamie Lloyd as a female serial killer. But then this movie made more money than they were expecting, and people said, no, you have to keep Michael Myers, find a way to fucking bring him back.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I think that it would have been a much more interesting film if they tried to do the Jamie Lloyd character, which they did try again in other sequels or in this series. Like it's
right. Yeah, they did
they,
Halloween. Was it Halloween
they did
ends? Halloween ends. They finally did that kind of with another character,
yeah,
but
well they did
everyone hated that shit. So,
they did it again in Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 too. They tried
yeah,
to do that with the same character with Rob Zombie using that same kind of impulse to do that same thing, but he didn't do a sequel, so it never really panned out.
yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, and then of course the new trilogy tried to do something very similar again. It's like
yeah.
it's
I mean, yeah. I don't know. I don't hate the idea. I kind of I don't I like her character. I like Daniel Harris very young, obviously, but I do like her performance in both of the films. Her character's in the sixth film, but unfortunately she doesn't come back for it. But I like the way she plays it, and
yeah,
I do like the way that they don't make her the killer because I I don't know. I just don't think it would have worked that good. I think in theory it kind of works thinking about it, the twist and the holy shit moment. But
yeah,
then, can you imagine though the character being the killer? It's hard. It's seeing her do it. And plus, I like her performance. I feel that there's more nuance to it than just a blank shape that they describe Michael Myers as. Like Michael
yeah,
Myers was never he never had any humanity, and he was like vacant to begin with, and she's not that way.
yeah. Well, the thing is that impulse that she has at the very end of this film, where she goes after Michael Myers has been hit with a truck that Rachel's been driving, and he gets flown back, and he's on the ground, and they think he's incapacitated, and Jamie goes up to him and touches his hand, and then of course that's when he rises again. Her impulse to kind of see what how her uncle is, what his uncle is, and all that plays really it pays off in the fifth film when she does a very similar thing in that film. It makes for an interesting character. So she's not just like this victim that's running from Michael Myers the entire time. She has some kind of connection with him, some type of empathy that she feels for an uncle she doesn't know anything about, but she has this connection with him. And I like that kind of aspect that they use in this film, and it's more developed in the next film, despite the fact that most other elements in the next film don't pan out at all. um, so
No,
that's what I like about this film, and it gives some of this film a different slasher tropes. I guess is the best way to describe it. So
what's now the first two Halloween movies come on with this pumpkin in the music, and even the third one has a like a computer pumpkin for the third one, but this one has a completely different uh, like credit sequence with a bunch of Halloween decorations and farms. That I've always really liked that opening title sequence.
So
Very unique.
yeah, you mentioned something I wanted to bring up too. I want to know your opinion of this because that opening title sequence was just really fucking cool because of
Yeah.
these series of shots of like the farm and Halloween and all that type of stuff has almost no music under it
Okay. Yeah.
as you're watching it. It is the complete opposite of the previous Halloween movies. It's kind of like this mood. It's like this very calm Halloweenish mood until we get to the sanitarium and the ambulance drives up, and then it starts just slightly bringing in that Halloween music until, of
Yeah.
course, after the paramedics probably they give it all clear on moving Michael Myers, and then it jumps into gear with the music, and it's so the paramedics pop out of that doorway with Michael Myers on the gurney, and boom, the music comes in hard, hard. It comes in hard, and it's like
Yeah.
I love the way that opening is. And I'm so glad you brought that up because I've never heard of anyone else talk about the opening, and it didn't dawn on me until I rewatched it how that opening was. And I've listened
Yeah.
to the soundtrack to this fucking movie 200,000 times because I have the soundtrack.
Yeah, I remember watching it the first time I watched it. It really feeling that this the scenery from those shots. It just reminds me of fall and Halloween, and just I really like that the kind of feeling that those shots bring, and it's such a cool way to put the opening credits. It's completely different than the other ones, which start out hard with the music.
Yeah,
I watched it on this. I got the 4K Scream Factory version, and those shots look even more amazing in 4K. They're
really.
most of them are like a sunset, and there's some mist going on. And right away, when you're watching the 4K, you see a big difference in quality just from those shots in particular.
Yeah. So everyone out there, I did watch the 4K version at the theater when they re-released it. Whenever when they did the 4K version, they
Yeah.
re-released Part 4 and Part 5 in the theater.
It was in 2021 is when the 4K
Yeah,
came
we
out.
were
Yeah.
looking it up, and I was like, I don't remember the
Yeah.
year. I know it was before COVID. It was like literally right before
Yeah,
COVID.
right. Yeah.
And I thought it was freaking amazing watching it on the big screen because I hadn't seen I hadn't seen that one or Part 5 on the big screen before then. And it looked amazing then. I would love to see it on a 4K TV now. I've always loved this movie, not just because of the fact that I finally got Michael Myers after missing him between in Part 3, but also because the Rachel and Jamie have such a great relationship in this movie. And
Yeah.
they have such great chemistry as this stepsisters. It just it drives the movie, and it keeps it from going off into that typical slasher territory, which unfortunately happens in Part 5 because they kill her off, which is like one of the dumb things they do. They
Yeah.
kill her off in Part 5, and they'll have a way to replace that relationship between
Well,
her.
yeah, they tried to with that Tina character, but it's not, it doesn't work. I
It,
don't understand why they did it, but we'll get into that with five, but it's hard not to get into it since
yeah,
we know about it. But I
it,
think,
because it's so good in this. Really, it's in this
uh,
film. That's like the anchor for this film is those
right,
two. It's so
yeah,
it's so good. It's so well done in this movie, and
I feel that yeah, I think this happens in a lot of these horror franchises where you end with a high note with some characters, and then when they're going into the next one, they have to take out some of those characters because this is about Michael Myers. It's not about the characters, so you can't have characters being safe. You don't want the audience thinking characters are safe, and I think that's what a lot of times they do.
yeah, I will agree with you on that. I kind of it's so weird though because then in hindsight, when we rewatch all these slasher movies that we tended to love in the '80s and early '90s, when we go back to watching them, we kind of think that the characters are cardboard characters because they don't have those type of great relationships and connections with the other characters, and they're all just the characters are just there for cannon fodder for the killers. Uh,
Yeah.
until
Well,
Scream,
yeah,
like
yeah,
Scream, we don't know who the
yeah.
killer is. We're trying to figure it out, just like the main characters are trying to figure it out.
Right. Well, I like screams. Those are great, but this is something that they did. If you think about what they did, I know we necessarily don't like them, but the trilogy, the most recent Halloween trilogy, they do take the characters through all three of the films, and they actually have them experience the trauma, and it doesn't necessarily make it work, but they do it though. That's what they actually take, like Jamie Lee Curtis's character, Will Patton's character, several of the other characters who survive, like the granddaughter, and they carry them through all three of the films, and they experience the trauma in different ways. But here they here instead of we get Daniel Harris's character Jamie Lloyd for two movies and then killed off in the third one pretty early. But then the second time here, the Rachel character's killed off the next film. So
Yeah, and early too. So
yeah,
Um,
But which, from what I've read, it seems like the actress didn't want that to be the case, but it was probably what we just talked about. But I'm not positive on that. But it,
it'd be interesting for people to talk about it, but part five had a lot of issues with it to begin with.
yeah,
Which is why there was such a huge gap in between part five and part six. I would love to talk to the people who made part six who felt they were obligated to kind of fix all the holes that part five had created and try and make everything seem cohesive. But between part three, part two, and part four, all they had to do was kill off Laurie Strode's character and say she had a daughter, and that was about it.
yeah, that's an unfortunate thing that happened because Jamie Lee Curtis didn't want to come back.
But
But
now she's come back several times in the
yeah,
franchise.
yeah. But yeah. Now in this movie though, I do like the Halloween vibe. They do a good job
Yes.
of keeping the Halloween vibe going. They get a trick or treat sequence because your main character is a little girl to begin with, so you get to experience trick or treating more in this film than most of the other ones.
Yeah. No, no,
And
I,
then
I agree with you on that one. Uh, they like the first one. They don't go trick or treating because Jamie Lee, what the heck's her name? Laurie Strode's
yeah,
babysitting, so you
right,
get that
yeah.
whole aspect. The second one, she's obviously in the hospital, and so in the third one, the trick or treaters never actually go trick or treating. You just see like a silhouette of them trick or
Yeah,
treating.
yeah.
You
We
know,
see some trick or treating happening, but we go with them here some
yeah, we go
and
with them on this
experience
one.
it.
Yeah,
And
it makes for a much more interesting concept because you see Jamie in the streets trick or treating when she didn't really want to go at first. She goes and gets the costume, which is very important for us Halloween fans because she gets a costume just like Michael Myers in the first one, or very
it-
close to it.
yeah,
Very
what's interesting when she goes to get the costume, there's some pretty hilarious like dynamic set up between the Rachel character and her boyfriend who works at this. It's a drugstore. I guess it's the only place in town that has costumes, and it's got some nice Halloween decorations in there, like really old school looking Halloween decorations. And it sets up her boyfriend who and this other girl who works there who he's ends up like going and cheating on her which is like a messed up thing that happens in this one. I remember seeing that to begin with, and that really was aggravating to me that he did that. Now it doesn't bother me as much, but back then, when the first time I saw it, I was like
really.
yeah,
Brady is Rachel's almost boyfriend, and
yeah.
of course Kelly is the girl, the attractive girl that works there with him. That the
She's sheriff's
boys,
daughter too.
sheriff's daughter, who the
Yeah,
boys are all betting one of the characters, Wade, to go and ask her out. Of course, she doesn't want anything to do with Wade.
yeah,
But Brady, who's her coworker, she'll definitely get with.
yeah, yeah, and it's yeah,
And of course, these kids don't actually look like kids. They look much older than the high school,
yeah.
which is kind
But,
of crazy.
but she
Especially
could,
actors playing Kelly. Uh,
yeah. She tells you, but she tells Brady. She comes in and she says she has to go babysit Jamie Lee, Jamie Lloyd. Wait, Jamie Lloyd is the character's name, right? Yeah, Jamie Lloyd. She
yeah,
said like Daniel Harris's character. She has to go babysit that character, and so he's all like bummed out. So he ends up going and hanging out with the other girl at the sheriff's house.
which already seems a bad idea anyway. She's gonna go hang out with her at the sheriff's house, which
Yeah.
everyone in town seems to be afraid of her already because we get that information from the bet that they make with Wade. So it seems really sketchy that Brady would get with her, knowing that she's the sheriff's daughter, and knowing that because he works with her, that is probably a bad idea. But hey, it works for the plot of the film. Brady,
She's very persuasive, though, the sheriff's daughter. Because yeah, it's a bad idea, but she is like it'd be hard to say no to, really. Yeah,
yeah, the casting of that young actress makes it really hard for any man to say no to her.
the way she's acting too, though, is just like, especially like after she, the other guy comes up to her and hits on her, and she's
Wade,
like,
yeah.
yeah, she's like denies it, and suddenly she's like goes to him, and she wants to be with him because he's got another girlfriend on the side. So it's like it's more of a territorial thing, I believe, than really anything else, you
Yeah,
know?
you might be. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
especially
But
when her and Rachel confront each other in her house when they're later in the film. What she says to Rachel, you know.
yeah, yeah, and it's she gets a pretty good death scene, the Kelly girl. But it's like it when the sheriff's making her fix her tea, fix them all tea and stuff. And it's
Yeah, well, the thing is, there are some really interesting set pieces in this film. The house, the sheriff's house being one of them.
yeah, yeah, it's pretty dark scenes, and that's another thing that the photography here. Once it gets dark, about 30 minutes into the film, the dark areas are very shadowy. They do a good job
Yeah.
with the atmosphere.
Yeah, and they do a really good job with hiding Michael Myers in corners so that the audience sees them, but maybe not the characters in the scene sees them.
Right.
Something they did in the original one, the original film, and now that I think about the second one, I don't know if they did it much in the second film, but it was something John Carpenter did very much in the first one a lot. Um, and then Dwight Little, the director of this one, does it in this film, which actually makes it closer to me, the feeling of the first movie. So,
Yeah.
but this film is not limited to like two locations. If you remember, for the most part, the first movie was limited to the two houses. This film is not limited. This film has a lot of different locations in it. It goes from one location to the next to the next.
Yeah.
It's
There's yeah.
open. It's very open.
Right.
Street scenes.
Yeah.
The-
Yeah, it feels more. Yeah, but it does have. You are in that sheriff's house for a pretty good bit. Several people get killed in there, and it's a pretty cool sequences. But in general, there's some opener stuff. They go end up going into a school, and then there's like these a posse of redneck guys. That's a
Earl.
pretty yeah. Earl and his posse of other dudes, and there's a pretty awesome sequence when they're on a truck trying to help um, Rachel and Jamie Lloyd, and then Michael Myers gets on the truck and fights them while they're driving down the road. That's a really awesome sequence,
Yeah.
and the most gruesome death of the whole movie. He reaches his hand. Earl's driving the truck. He reaches his hand in, grabs Earl's neck, and just rips it open.
Yep.
Most gruesome, like gory thing. Like, I don't know how they got away with that one, but yes.
Yeah, because considering that, well, if some of the other scenes were gorier and they cut all the other ones, they got to keep one.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe they got to keep that one because it's like some redneck truck driver, and the critics were like didn't care that much to see him get killed.
But
You know,
now, let me ask you this: having seen the new Halloween films, do you see these characters as rednecks, or you just see them as regular townspeople, just sick of the whole thing of that Michael Myers has done to their town?
I, yeah, I think it's unfair to call them rednecks. That's a very generalization of the characters. They don't seem they don't seem too trashy. They're definitely, but they are hunters, and they're definitely there to hunt.
Yeah, so the funny thing about these characters, because I used to think that way. I used to think that way too about them because I hate to say this, but that was kind of one of those tropes you'd have back in the day. You'd have these rednecks who all have guns who do
Yeah,
that type of thing. But because the first time we see Earl is in his bar with the other locals, and the first thing they do is he calls the sheriff to try and figure out what the hell's going on because he's not going to close his business for no apparent reason, and then
yeah,
they only leave because these are people who lived in this town forever and they know what happened the last time Michael Myers was there, and they know that when they don't hear the police answer their phone, something's got to be wrong, and they go check it out. I think this is more of a town that's just had too much of bad shit happening to them, and they're taking their fight straight to the sheriff to figure out what the fuck's going on because it wouldn't be like him to do something like this. If
right.
anything, I think Sheriff Meeker is the one that seems the most out of place because he seems like a by the numbers type of sheriff. To be honest with you,
But- yeah.
he's not like the other deputy who gets killed in the house, his house, the Sheriff Meeker house by Michael Myers, or some of the other deputies that we see. Meeker is a much different one, but he's also played by an amazing actor. So there you go.
Right, what was his name? Bo Star, I believe,
Yeah,
something
Gold
like that.
Star.
Yeah, but yeah. I mean, I actually really like what they do with these vigilante characters in this one, and they carry them through until the end, where Michael Myers gets killed again for the second time, or maybe the third time. But here, But here they all gather, and the ones that are still alive with some police, and they just like completely annihilate them with guns, and it's just like give them a pretty big send off.
Yeah.
But
That's the thing is you kind of realize how the hell is he going to survive that? He just got shot by a posse of people. Who knows how many freaking shots, and he falls down into this, I guess, cave shaft well. I don't know if they ever really explain what the hell he falls through.
it's like a mine shaft or something, but
Well,
it's
it does.
yeah,
I used
yeah,
to think it was a mine shaft until I thought about it. It's like this doesn't seem like a mine shaft. It's not like a
yeah,
hole into like a bit.
yeah,
It goes down. It's like
yeah,
it doesn't come off as like a well. It could be a well, but where they are, why
yeah,
the hell would there be a well? So I don't know.
yeah,
I don't know. But it's cool. It's cool to watch because you're not expecting him to fall through anything.
right.
He falls backwards after being shot. He falls to the ground, but the ground is really a shaft going down somewhere else. I thought that was really cool as shit. I kind of because I'd seen the movies. I don't know if you've ever seen this Chuck Norris movie, Silent Rage. Did you ever watch that?
No, I hadn't seen it.
Ah, shit. So that one has a unstoppable killer, and
Yeah.
the only way that Chuck Norris gets rid of him is by dropping his ass in the freaking well. But he's like immortal. So in the
Yeah, yeah.
movie, he pops up out of the well. He pops up out of the water in the well, but he can't get out of the well. I kind of thought Michael Myers was going to do the same thing in this movie. I was like, he falls out of the well. He's not going to be dead. Yeah, no, we don't see any of that afterwards because we have to assume that he's dead and there's not going to be another sequel. But of course, we do get another sequel.
Yeah.
But
Well, it wasn't good enough though. That was to me, it's not a good enough death. It was kind of cool, but him getting blown up at the end of the second one is a lot better than him falling down a well and getting shot. Yeah,
Oh, I
but
wouldn't disagree with you on that one.
yeah,
I
yeah,
guarantee you, when they did part four of this movie, they were automatically thinking they could do another franchise. If this worked, they could do a franchise like Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, and the rest of them, and just keep it going.
yeah.
I guarantee you, part five kind of ruined that whole momentum real fast. But yeah, they had a
But
plan from.
yeah. Well, it's funny, like part five in all of them really, like Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street, they're usually like the worst ones of all of them. Yeah, they're especially like this one in Nightmare on Elm Street. It really was a momentum killer in both of them.
I think it was a momentum killer in Friday the 13th too.
Yeah, but yeah, because Friday the 13th recovered pretty good in the next one, and the sixth one was probably one of the best ones. But
Yeah,
it definitely was. That's the one. The fifth Friday the 13th when they had a killer that wasn't Jason, and it
yeah.
was like it's a. I might rewatch it and like it better, but I always didn't like that plot twist. It was always very like it just didn't feel earned when watching the film.
Uh, Even though we went off this tangent, I want you to know you should definitely rewatch it with a critical eye. Five feels like a traditional Friday the 13th film.
Yeah,
The way it is orchestrated, it just doesn't play as well because you realize by the end that it's not Jason Voorhees. It
right.
just seems weird.
Yeah,
But
I remember. I do remember liking it though, up until the twist. I do remember that I've seen it probably two or three times, but I do remember like watching it and thinking there's some cool stuff. And really, what the most gruesome thing is the twist. What brought the twist on was like an earlier scene where I think where some guy gets his head like split open by mistake. That causes the killer to become Jason. But that's probably the most gruesome scene in the film.
yeah, and I think when that one came out, the censors were hacking up Friday the 13th movies to it by the time.
Yeah, yeah,
That's what hurt a lot of the sequels is censors not liking the violence in the movies, and. And there's
yeah,
almost not. There's very little in part five. A lot of that shit's cut out, which is why it comes off as very tame.
yeah.
And you're right. Part fives in a lot of these franchises don't really play as well. Like I've always liked Nightmare on Elm Street Part Five, but it was darker. The cinematography was darker, and it didn't feel like the rest of the films before them. And it same goes for this franchise. The cinematography is darker.
Yeah.
This one bit right here feels like John Carpenter's film, the first one. It's dark where it needs to be, and it's light where it needs to be. But the characters are what makes you watch it. You love the Jamie Lee Curtis in the first one and her relationship with the two kids and her friends. Like you get to see those relationships in the very beginning before her friends are killed in the house across the street. You get to see it. You get
Yeah,
to see
yeah,
really how close it is. And the same thing happens in this film with Rachel and Jamie. um, and that's what makes these films work. Unfortunately, when you get to part five of this film, it sucks. There's not that glue because Donald Pleasance is not that person. Donald Pleasance is like supposed to be our reasonable guy. Yeah, he's the one sprouting. He's evil. We don't know how to kill evil, but maybe no one does.
Yeah. Well, we should talk about his journey in this one, but
We should
his
definitely talk about
yeah,
it, Jay.
but his I don't know. His character is kind of like I don't know, especially in part five, but we'll get to that. But I do like the way he's just following what's going on, and he's the knows that Michael Myers is evil. He knows that he's going to escape again. No one believes him. He shows up and he's like, "Where is he?" And they're like, "Oh, we just took him off down the road somewhere." And he's just like, "Holy shit!" And he goes to chase him like no one else. Everyone's like, "Okay, that guy's out of his mind." And then he goes. Of course, he's killed the people in the ambulance. That's one of the first kills in the movie. He kills the ambulance drivers and wrecks the ambulance. And it's a pretty cool sequence, really, when the ambulance is during the day. Like Loomis goes down there, the cops are there, and Donald Pleasance actually walks through the water and goes and looks into the ambulance. It's pretty cool shots, and I really like the feel of those scenes. And then he goes to this gas station where Michael Myers has killed people, and before that happens, Michael Myers goes in there and kills the mechanic, and that's how he gets his coveralls.
Hmm.
But that's a cool sequence though, when Loomis goes to the gas station and then he goes in there and sees all these dead people, sees Michael Myers, goes outside. Michael Myers gets a truck, drives through the gas station, and Loomis starts shooting at him, and then he gets away. And then the whole gas station explodes after that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
this is a much bigger film, obviously, because it's
yeah,
the gas station explosion, and of course they kill everyone at the sheriff's station. Uh, it's it has these big moments in the film, yet still wants to be very self-contained, like a slasher film. But it is a better version of some of the slashers that were coming out at the end of the '80s.
yeah,
I
yeah.
would,
It's definitely yes. It's
and
competently directed and
yes,
acting is good.
and very few of them have that anchor like Donald Pleasance. Like Donald Pleasance, in my opinion, makes that role better than it was written. Like
Yeah,
his presence is his ambiance is so much that he may be sprouting the dumbest lines known to mankind, but you're listening to them because it's Donald
yeah,
Pleasance saying them.
yeah.
And he has some really questionable lines in this movie. But one of my favorite scenes is the scenes that probably most people aren't looking at is the fact that after the scene at the mechanic place, the gas station, and he's having a hitchhike on the road, the young people he first encounters just make fun of him and then drive off. And of course, there's the so-called Reverend guy who picks him up. Uh,
Right.
and they're having this nice little conversation on the way to Haddonfield. And it's the looks that Donald Pleasant gives while this guy is sprouting off about the end of times and all that type of stuff. And it's just amazing what Pleasance does with just these subtle looks that
Yeah.
could have played completely different in a horror movie had it been any other actor than him.
Yeah, and he gets top billing in this. Even those characters in it a pretty good bit, but he doesn't get that much to do in this one. He gets more to do in five, I
Yeah.
think. But he actually in five and this one, he's very hands on during the daytime scenes. Once it gets nighttime, he teams up with the sheriff and they're investigating and stuff, and he occasionally gets to do something, but he doesn't get to do that much in it.
No, no, and then he gets dispatched, at the end of the film when they're at the school,
Yeah,
and then we don't see him again until the resolution. His is an odd character in these movies because he's not the main protagonist in any of these movies. He's kind of like almost like you would think of the narrator. He's there, but just to give out information, but he really doesn't have much to do. Like in the original John Carpenter one, he really gets all the information out to the audience, and then shows up at the very end after Laurie Strode's already been battling Michael Myers and shoots him, and
yeah.
falls out the window. And that's pretty much all that Loomis does in that one. In this movie, he gets dispatched by Michael Myers, and he doesn't do anything until the resolution at the very, very end.
But
And
it's pretty close to the end when he gets knocked out. But a lot of cool scenes happen after that. He's not,
yeah,
he's really involved. He's really rarely involved with the cooler scenes. Even though in the second one he probably when he comes in
Close.
and blows him up, that's a big deal there. But he does spend a lot of the times in the second film. He often teams up with
Cop.
with a
Sheriff.
cop, and he's involved with an investigation, trying to figure out where Michael Myers is and what he's going to do next. And sometimes he'll leave to go do something and won't be in scenes for a long time, and then will pop back in out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, he leaves he leave when they all think they're in barricaded up at Meeker's house.
Yeah,
He leaves because he thinks Michael Myers is going to make it back to their Rachel's house, original house, because that's where in his eyes, Michael Myers would go in search of Jamie. It would be at her house. So he leaves to go check on that, and of course, that's when everything. And then, of course, the sheriff has to leave as well because he gets called off because the posse has
yeah,
accidentally killed somebody. Uh,
right.
and so,
Which she would, yeah, he would leave then. But
well, yeah, because he has to stop the entire town from going batshit crazy. And then, of course, that's when everything in the house actually happens, and it happens really fast. Once these two main characters like that are out of the house, boom, people start dying.
yeah, there's a deputy in there who seems pretty capable, but Michael Myers gets the upper hand on him. But I think if the sheriff and Loomis had stayed in the house, he probably would have killed them too. He
Yeah,
seems, especially maybe not the sheriff, but probably Loomis. Loomis doesn't seem like he has that good of a plan. He does have a gun, but he's just kind of like he often like anytime he encounters Michael Myers. Michael Myers like throws him through a glass door in this one.
yeah,
Yeah, usually you throw him through something and knock him out, but not kill him. Even though he kills everybody else but Loomis, that he does that too. But luckily,
yeah. Luckily, yeah, I kind of see that as okay. So Loomis has some connection. Michael Myers has some sympathetic tendencies towards his doctor a little bit. So he doesn't kill him. He just beats him up in every movie, throws him across stuff. He doesn't kill him until part six.
yeah, yeah. But he wasn't even going to do it then. But since the actor died, they held him off. But it's such a I really like the character Loomis, even though I don't think they knew what to do with him. I really like the idea of this character who is a psychiatrist who becomes obsessed with his patient being a psycho, and he's kind of stops being a psychiatrist in during the first one because he never really goes back to it. He's always a hunter
Yeah,
or protector from then on, and he's not even trying to do any psychology stuff whatsoever or any kind of drug treatment. He's just obsessed with stopping evil.
yeah. Well, and Dr. Hoffman, who is the one who allows Michael Myers to be taken out of sanitarium to begin with, and they have a great confrontation scene when after Michael Myers has already been let go from the sanitarium. Donald Pleasance, Loomis shows up because he wasn't told. But obviously, Hoffman tells everyone, the paramedics, when they're taking Michael Myers, he doesn't answer his memos. He doesn't show up for meetings. Mike, he is like a figurehead there now.
Yeah,
No one pays any attention to his crackpot ideals
yeah,
anymore. Like Michael Myers may be his only patient now.
yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like the in Jaws 2 when it's like, Brody's convinced there's a shark again and no one believes him because there's
Yep.
like, what's the odds of there being a second killer shark out here?
Well, no one really believes him that Michael Myers could be back. He's supposed to be comatose or he's
Yeah,
supposed to be half dead. And even if he tries and gets up, his muscles should be atrophied because he's been in a coma for 15 years, 10 or 15 years. I can't remember the timing now. But yeah, all that type of stuff. Loomis just says he's evil. You can't explain evil. Evil just to do whatever it wants to do.
yeah. He completely threw all psychology out the window. It's just like,
Yeah,
yeah, he's just. But what he says is true though about Michael Myers. And I guess he encountered what is evil, and it is evil in these films at least. It's not until Rob Zombie's films that they kind of try to do a little something more with it. But he seems to be mostly evil, and he's seen evil and he knows what it is, and he can't stop, he can't unsee it. Yeah.
For the longest time, I tried to not see any supernatural elements in these films whatsoever. Uh, the thing is, this was different for me than like Friday 13th, where obviously, eventually, Michael Myers has cut head chopped in half in part four, and everything. You kind of wonder how
You mean Jason? Is that what you mean?
Jason. Yes,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
who did I say?
yeah. Well, you said Michael Myers
Oh no!
again.
In part
Yeah,
four of that, he freaking machetes going in heads. He should be dead. We shouldn't be seeing anymore. Michael Myers is this guy who we don't ever see that except for in the second one where he gets his eyes blown out and he's supposed to be blown up. So after that, you're watching part four and you're like, okay, there's some type of supernatural element that's keeping this guy alive. I don't know.
yeah,
I don't know if people like that or they didn't like it, or by
yeah,
part five when they try to explain, or part six when they try to explain all this thorn cult shit. Uh,
yeah.
no.
The,
What do you think?
well, I mean, it's Friday the 13th doesn't do it until the sixth one. That's Zombie Jason, which is one of my favorite ones. I do like the supernatural aspects of these. They it maybe takes away some because before it can be explained in a way, but even here where we know that he was blown up at the end of two and and he's back, it doesn't necessarily dive too in far into him being supernatural. Most of the stuff that he does, even though he does do a quite a ridiculous rampage of killings in this film in a supernatural way, but we don't see it on screen. We don't see
No, we
the
don't.
supernatural stuff. We see shadows and we see like aftermaths and we see that he would come out of a shadow, but we don't see too much of the what would be like a superhero, but a superhero killer with killing people, but the unstoppable killer. I don't. I mean, I don't. I don't know. I mean, I like the way. I don't. I like the Thorn stuff a little bit. I don't think it connected with people at all. No one wanted that, or most people didn't want that. And I do like the idea of them kind of bringing in some new plot stuff, especially this is really the beginning of what's considered the Thorn trilogy, even though there's
Yeah.
no Thorn information in this movie. The,
Mm.
the Thorn information really starts in the fifth one, but the characters from this one, especially Jamie Lloyd, carry through the Thorn trilogy.
Well, they also mentioned Dr. Wynn in this one, which I completely forgot until I rewatched it. Dr.
Yeah,
Wynn is mentioned in this one, but we only see Dr. Hoffman in this
right.
one. Uh,
Yeah,
I
it's too bad about Doctor. I mean, it's too bad they didn't have it figured out beforehand, and because they were having to change stuff as they went. If they had the Thorn trilogy planned out, they could have like made it follow through all three films in a smoother fashion.
or whatever the next film after Part Five would have originally been, since there was a huge gap between Part Five and the eventual Curse of Michael Myers that we did get.
Yeah,
The filmmakers felt obligated to kind of continue to try and tell a cohesive story to varying degrees, and we talked about that on our podcast already, Part Six. So if you want to listen
yeah.
to our conversation about Curse of Michael Myers, check that podcast out. That
There's
episode,
two part sixes. There's like two versions of that film.
and they are
Uh,
different.
yeah, I like part six though, but it's funny. Like you think about Freddy Krueger, he starts out supernatural,
Mhm.
so it always there's never any like question about it, and it always worked because you knew it was supernatural from the beginning. Here and Friday the 13th, it doesn't start out that way, but it eventually becomes that way, probably because of Nightmare on Elm Street working so
Probably.
well.
Yeah,
And it,
I don't disagree with you. At some point, these sequels started coming out, and they were making way too much money, and they had to figure out how to keep making them.
yeah,
Despite the fact they tried to stop them at Part Four and Friday 13th, and John Carpenter, we all know, was vocal about trying to do an anthology film with these Halloween franchise, but he still had an idea of doing a franchise, like the sequels. There were going to be sequels; they just need to be self-contained and not involve Michael Myers. Um, I like the fact that this one went back to Michael Myers. I think he is the face of Halloween. Um, And even now, even before now, I mean, in the '80s when they did Part Three in '82, Michael Myers was the face of Halloween, which is why Part Three was so looked down upon on its initial release. And you could probably hear the grunt or the filmmakers, Mustafa Akkad and the rest of the people who are making these movies, could hear the rumblings that people want Michael Myers back. Bring back Michael Myers. You have to have Michael Myers. And they finally gave in and said, we're going to make a Michael Myers sequel. We're going to hopefully make a franchise based off that. Probably like Friday 13th, but no one had a plan at that time in the '80s to like make multiple films. They made one movie. If it made money, they made another movie, and then the filmmakers would try and link them together and keep continuity. Continuity was like sacrosanct back then. Everyone, you try to make these movies fit within continuity. That is not something that plays well with filmmakers in this day and age, especially with even this franchise, which has like 4 different splinter film stories going on.
Yeah. Right.
But back then they tried to make all this shit make sense from one film to the next, and Part 5 did lead directly from this film. Part 6 tried its best, but it came years after with no input for the filmmakers from Part 4 and 5. So I do think this is a great film. Not just a great individual film. I think this is a great jumping on point for people who may have never even seen the first 2 films. I think there's enough in this film to get you hooked and into the story without having watched the first 2 films.
Yeah, and it may be an easier one to watch. I think the first one, I like the first one the best, but I think some people may think it's more dated feeling than this, even because that does have that kind of late '70s feel to it. This one does feel like a newer type of film, and it may be easier for people who are younger to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I like about this time period is there's not cell phones around, so a lot of what happens, you don't have to deal with cell phone stuff, and people aren't able to communicate within certain scenes because of they don't have phone access.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was so much easier back in the day. Don't have to worry about I don't get cell phone service out here, so
Yeah, yeah.
work shit like that. Nah, I like that aspect, and this puts this film in a very timeless kind of atmosphere, which doesn't exist for like Part 6, where we do have the cell phones everywhere, and you would think that those would be closer linked, but they're not, because there was so much time in between Part 5 and Part 6.
With, yeah, he does at one point. There's a power worker that he throws into the transformer and
Yeah.
electrocutes him, and knocks out the power. Which is pretty cool. It makes all the scenes dark for a while after that.
It's really cool, but you just mentioned one of the problems I have with this film is like, why the fuck would Michael Myers go to a power station to kill the guy?
Yeah, it is kind of random. It's random shit.
Random.
But it makes it so they can knock out the power, and then like so all the scenes after that are cool looking.
But the thing is Michael Myers never did anything like this in the other 2 movies. He was on a straight line to kill his prey, and anything came in his way. And this is like, well, I have to stop by the power station to kill the guy so I can make it dark.
Yeah. But he does all kinds of crazy stuff in this one. He goes and kills all the police at the police station.
Yeah, you're right, man.
Yeah.
I gotta stop thinking about it. Like, there's
Yeah.
no reason for him to go to the police station to kill the police.
Who knows how many people he's killed here? I mean, I'm surprised that anybody in the whole town's alive by the end of the film,
You're right.
But somehow the Carruthers are still alive, like Rachel's parents are still alive. Well, I thought they would be dead, but by the way things are going.
No, but remember, Michael Myers gets into the deputy's car as he's driving away from their house to go to Meeker's house. So Michael Myers is with the deputy, so he wouldn't be at the house. That's the thing is, Michael Myers hitches a ride with the deputy to Meeker's house, and he's already in the house when they're trying to safeguard the house.
Right.
How he could possibly hide with
Yeah.
those people roaming through the rooms in that house,
He's the shape. He can hide.
Yeah, but that's the only reason why the mother and father are alive, and the reason why Loomis leaves the Meeker's house to go check on that house to begin with. I was like,
Yeah.
when I think about all this stuff, when you're young and you're watching this, you're not thinking about all the logic. People go from point A to point B to get to point A to point C.
Yeah.
When you there has been a lot of time between this movie's release and now, and then when I rewatched it, I'm looking at all these details, and it does a really good job of connecting the dots and making everything seem logical. This movie does a really good job with that. You're just not paying that much attention on an initial watch because you're being entertained by the fact that Michael Myers is killing a shit ton of people in this movie. Whether it's off screen or on screen, he's killing a lot of people, even if they're random, like the power. I made a name. I wish I could remember what his name was. I wrote it down because I was trying to.
Wait, the power worker, his name's Bucky.
Bucky. It's because it's on his
Yeah,
helmet.
yeah, yeah.
I've never noticed that until I watched it just
Yeah,
recently. I was like, "Oh wow, Bucky!" So
yeah,
he's Bucky. Bucky gets killed for no apparent reason.
yeah,
Of course, all the people at the police station. It's cool. It's
yeah,
cool as shit. But when you think about it logically, it's like, why? Michael
yeah,
Myers has never just killed random people like this. Like he's killed people that he comes
yeah.
across naturally, not just
Well,
randomly.
yeah. It's easier to knock out the transformer with a live person than it is just to go and turn it off.
Oh Jesus! But the thing is, you're watching this film, and it's just cool watching Michael Myers kill people. It really is.
Yeah,
The logic for stuff like that, and the whole scene at the police station. I mean, we know why that scene's there. It's to get the posse up in arms because we need a posse in this movie. The posse makes this movie seem bigger than the other
yeah,
films in this franchise because you've got an entire town now hunting for Michael Myers, and they know who he is. They know what he's capable of. So that's some of the stuff that I like about this film because it's so different than the first and second movie.
yeah. This I see a lot of complaints about the mask. What do you think about the mask?
When I saw this as a kid, the mask did not. I could not. It did not phase me at all. I can understand what people are saying now, because I've watched it enough to realize it's not a very good mask. But then again, I also really hate the mask in Part Six. Like, there's a lot of
Yeah,
people who love that Part Six mask, and I really hated that one too.
yeah. I don't, yeah, I didn't never had a. I could see it if you look at it good, but I think they did a really good job of shooting it and also the way the actor moves and the way it's cut because they don't linger on the mask for you long enough to even process exactly how good or bad it is. You just see it as a white mask and it's cut so fast.
That's the thing. When I watch it now, I kind of see it almost like a blank, a ghost-like face. And when they show Michael Myers in those peripheral visions, or those like in the dark areas where he just pops out and then pops in and pops back out again, it works extremely well.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
am not a hardcore mask lover for any means. The only mask I've ever really noticed in this franchise is Part Six. I thought that was the ugliest freaking mask ever. And then, of course, I hear people who absolutely love that mask. And I'm like, okay, maybe it's just my opinion that really sucks in this one, but I just really hated that mask. Other than that,
Yeah,
I have read the internet chatter about the mask,
yeah.
and I know people who love to collect the different versions of mask. I don't think there is any other character in the franchise of any franchise in the world that has as many different masks, as many different collectors as those for the Halloween franchise. Like they have made a mask for each of the films because they do, I guess, a version that's different for every film.
Yeah. What's funny is like I really wouldn't notice it myself. I just see people talking about it, but I don't notice it, especially the way that it's done in these films and the way that it's shot is a lot of times he's either out of focus or just it's just quick, and I get it that you if you pause it or you can see it better, but I don't know. I mean, yeah, I was curious about your thought. I mean, I can't see it though if I pause it, and it does look like it's like it's different than the first two because they had
Well,
to
yeah,
get a different mask. But I don't, I
it,
don't, I don't hate it or anything. I thought it worked just fine.
it's grown on me, and I never really liked or disliked it. I didn't really think about the different types of masks until Part Six, and then of
Yeah,
course for many people hated the Rob Zombie Halloween Two mask because it's
yeah,
all torn up and tattered and stuff, and I actually like that mask.
yeah. I thought the Rob Zombie ones looked really good.
So did I.
Yeah,
and I'm a fan of the Rob Zombie
Yeah.
movies in general, which there are a lot of people who are not. But the mask thing is, I've never understood that controversy with the mask for this franchise. It really stems from this film. Like this,
Yeah.
I don't hear much talk about the first two movies. I hear about this one and
But I
part
think they had the same mask in the first two films, and this is the first time they had a
three of
different
them.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah. The- There's a pretty cool sequence near the end when they're in the cop house and actually go on top of the roof, and there's like some crazy tile roof up there, and there's a sequence where he chases them across the rooftop, and that's a pretty impressive sequence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, this we've talked. This film has amazing sequences throughout. I think the director Dwight Little did a great job with this movie, and they expanded on a lot of the different locations in this movie. This movie is much more dynamic than the first two, but that's because audiences already know who the hell Michael Myers is. The difference between this film and the first movie, especially, is that Michael Myers is this boogeyman who's just in the shadows the entire movie. So we don't see a lot of interaction with him and the characters until the very, like literally the end, where he's just offing them off one room at a time. Um,
Yeah.
in this film, there are people dying throughout the entire film. Like we are getting people getting killed from the moment the movie opens. We start getting the ambulance driver thumb through the head.
Yeah.
You know, the mechanic. We're getting people get killed in this movie from the beginning.
Right. There's no telling how many people he killed in this film. We see probably around 15 people that we know died, maybe 16, but it's probably more. He's probably killed more than that because the police station, you only see one dead body, but there's more cops in there earlier.
Yeah, there's a lot of
So
more cops in there earlier, so you have to assume that if it's just him, Meeker, and the deputy left, and maybe a handful of people who weren't in the sheriff's station or the police station, that there's a lot of people dead.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah,
but no, I mean, there's a lot of great sequences in this film. This was a really well done film, and when it came out, it kind of satisfied everything I wanted in a Halloween film. I don't know about you, because I remember when it came out. You, from what I understand, you saw this one in part five around the same time, so
yeah.
you know. But I was really satisfied with this movie when it came out. I mean, I don't remember the book offhand now, but I do remember loving both the book and the movie within the same year they were both released, and I was not disappointed. In fact, this was part of the. It didn't start my tradition of watching the Halloween movies every Halloween, but because I had that with part three. I think my tradition started with me watching one through three every year until part four came out, and I kept adding that one. But the
Yeah.
thing is, part four is the one that I started watching out of order. Like part four, I could watch by itself any day of the week and not be bothered. I do not watch part five unless I've seen part four first. I just can't watch part five by itself. I don't know. That one is like, okay, if I want to watch part five, I'm definitely watching part four first.
Yeah,
Part
but they
six,
kind of yeah they kind of go into each other. Those are definitely like one and two and four and five are like since they were shot kind of almost at the same time. Then those go together a lot better than any of the others in the
yeah, I don't watch part two. I don't like part two.
yeah.
I have seen part two enough to never ever watch it again unless
I,
someone tells me to.
you're right. I got to the point at one point when I didn't like it. I used to like it, and then I was like, it's
Yeah,
just the whole thing takes place in a hospital. But then I watched it again maybe a couple years ago, and I was like, all right, I like it better than I thought I did.
yeah. Part two has gotten worse with age for me. Just like part six has gotten worse with age with me, as though that ever had any good points. I didn't even like it when I saw it at the theater. Because I saw that was the first
Yeah,
Halloween I saw at the theater. I saw that one in the theater. I was
yeah,
completely disappointed, except for Paul Rudd. Before Paul Rudd was big, I liked his looks in that movie.
yeah, yeah.
You know, uh, and you know what was part seven was H20. I thought that was the best sequel up to part four for the longest time.
Yeah, H2O. I thought it was. I liked it. I thought it was a little polished. If it seemed
Yeah.
it felt a little more polished than the other ones, and
Oh
which
yeah,
isn't necessarily a good thing, but it definitely seemed.
it was the
It
'90s,
seemed
dude.
like a bigger budget, more polished, like more like mainstream type of actors in it, and but it's still good. It is still a strong sequel, and it's one of the better. But it's been, again, that's been a while since I've seen that one. That's one I haven't watched in a long time. But
The only one I haven't watched in a very long time would be Resurrection.
yeah, I watched that one for the first time last year. It's pretty rough. Yeah,
Really, the
I
first time last year? Oh,
yeah. I mean, I tried to watch it two other times, and I just couldn't do it. I hate the beginning of it, where when Laurie Strode gets killed again. So
again, yes.
it's so awful.
I'm like, why?
Yeah,
Why?
I mean, what's the point? I wish he wasn't even in the movie at all. It'd been a lot better, you
Um,
know?
I don't even want to. I keep forgetting why Jamie Lee Curtis did that. I think it was like a contract
Yeah, I think so
thing.
too.
Um,
Yeah.
but the thing is, the Halloween, that's the part seven. I've only seen two times. I keep wanting to watch the special edition version, and I never want to get around to watching it because I just did not like it. I like the main actress in that one, and of course, Katie Sackhoff's in that one.
Yeah.
She became big. I love Katie Sackhoff.
I mean,
Um,
it's kind of a cool idea. I mean, it's kind of annoying too. It's kind of playing into what, this sort of reality television thing, which wasn't a bad idea. I mean, it just the execution's a little off on it.
well, it
Yeah.
was pop. You
Yeah.
got these big. What was it? The model.
The-
Shit, I can't remember the
I
name.
know Busta Rhymes is in
Busta
it,
Rhymes
but
is in it.
yeah.
You're trying to get all
He-
these popular people in the
yeah.
movie to be cool and shit.
Yeah.
And you don't want cool when you go watch a Michael Myers film. You want what Part Four gave you. Part Four
Yeah.
gave you this. It's it's hip, but it's still a slasher '80s movie.
But
Like,
if even if they did what H2O did, it's like
yeah,
what happens? What happens between these sequels where it's like all of a sudden it becomes something different? They could have followed H2O up with Josh Hartnett's character. Why don't they bring him back, you know? I
who
mean,
knows?
it's like it's like
Hey, we could get a reboot. We could get a reboot sequel to that. You never can tell now in this day and age.
yeah, that ain't gonna happen. But yeah, but
You
actually, yeah, I thought Josh Hartnett's character, he was
Well,
good
I
though.
like that entire cast, but to be honest with you, someone could go back and, and ask Danielle Harris to come back and do a fucking sequel to Part Five.
Yeah,
Skip Part Six, go straight to Part Five.
yeah,
Lord, Jamie's
yeah,
older. She has her own podcast. I don't know if she's listening to us yap about her movie, but she has her own podcast. But yeah, it'd be cool to see like someone like her come back to do a sequel to her original Halloween.
yeah.
It would not be, Halloween's been rebooted, remade, whatever, like 5, 6 times now. Who the fuck knows anymore? But I think they had something with this one. Part four, they had something special. Part five ruined it by being weird, being weird.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, they just started getting weird with that one, and like I guess that one is the I don't think they went over the top weird with the fifth one. It wasn't until the sixth one that they went big with it, but it is I don't know. I mean,
there was a lot of ideals with the director that didn't pan out in part five, from what I've read. And then part six, the filmmakers were just trying to piece the pieces together of what they knew. From my understanding, they had no talk with the director of the fifth one. I can't remember his freaking name to save my life. So they had to come up with their own solution to what had been created in part five, and that's why that's how we came across with the Curse of Michael Myers.
so the director of Halloween 4 is Dwight
Dwight Little.
Little,
Dwight Little.
who also directed Free Willy 2.
Dwight Little, yeah, he's still doing movies. He just did a recent horror film a few years ago.
Now he's got a lot of credits on. He's done like episodes of 24, Prison Break.
I only pay
Yeah.
attention to the movies. Yeah, he went off to do television for a while, and then he came back a few years ago with a horror film. I can't remember. I think it actually has Danielle Harris in it, actually. Because I only saw it the one time. I can't remember. I wish I could remember the name of
There's
it.
one called Last Rampage. It has an impressive cast, including Robert Patrick. I don't see Daniel Harris in there.
Mm.
Yeah, but yeah, probably something else.
I think she's like the mother or something. And see, I can't remember what the title is anymore. But the thing is, Dwight Little had a great eye when he did this film. And at some point had that shit that that time where he couldn't get really good jobs or feature films, so he went off to do television,
Yeah.
not television.
Yeah, I mean it's a more consistent paycheck, so it does have a good eye. I mean, I really like the way that Fart 4 looks. It does have a nice look to it, especially in the darker scenes. I like that gas station sequence with Loomis. That's freaking great.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm trying to. Fuck, I can't remember now. But the thing is, I wish we. I think when horror sequels came out in the '80s and the early '90s, they just had new people direct each film.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you can just stick with a director and he'll do two, three films in the series and then move on. But back then, they would just hire a new director every film. I mean, Nightmare on Elm Street is a prime example of that. A lot of good directors got started off doing a individual Nightmare on Elm Street and then moving on. Natty Knox. Natty Knox is the movie I'm thinking about.
Okay. I never heard of that.
It kind of came and went really fast. And Daniel Harris was the mother in that one. It wasn't very good. Well directed though, because he has a style. He has an eye. The white Will has an eye. It doesn't matter, but yeah, it wasn't very. I didn't even know it came out until after it came out. I read about it. I don't think I read about it the actual title was that at the time. I just remember Danielle Harris because I find her very interesting on her podcast. So
Yeah, I like Daniel Harris. I do like to see more of her. She was get really good in the Rob Zombie ones too, playing a different character.
yeah,
But it's yeah. I mean, I didn't know she had a podcast, but yeah, she's a
her and the one from the Rob Zombie Halloweens. Crap, I can't remember her name.
mm,
Scott Taylor Compton.
yeah.
Yeah, they have a podcast together. Uh,
Okay, that's
it's,
pretty cool. Yeah,
yeah, it's funny. It's funny. It's just them shooting the shit,
yeah,
and they're always doing what do you call it, conventions and stuff, and then they're always going off, and they're both shooting separate horror movies, low budget horror movies in different places. It's funny. Uh,
yeah.
but since we've gotten off on such a big tangent on that, is there anything else you'd like to talk about with Halloween 4?
Nah, I think I got it covered for the most part.
Yeah, I
We
think
probably missed something good, but I don't know.
I don't think we missed anything because I'm sure it'll come up when we talk about Halloween 5.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's really hard not to start talking about Halloween 5. I'll tell you that much because
Well, it is hard. It's
yeah,
really hard. And thankfully, I have not rewatched that for the podcast for that one just yet, so I didn't get too much into that. I'm just going by memory with that one. But I do want to thank you, Dave, for joining us in this conversation about Halloween 4. What we like to do, for everyone who's listening and who never listened to the show before, we like to rate the movies from 1 to 5 stars. 1 star being poor, 5 stars being amazing. Where on that spectrum, Dave, do you place Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers?
uh, I'll give this one out of 5 stars, one being the lowest, five being the highest. I'll give this four knives.
49.
Yeah, butcher knives or whatever. Isn't that a knife he uses? Is a butcher knife or is that no? Is that that's
He
what it
uses
is?
the
Isn't it?
butcher knife. He uses the
Yeah.
butcher knife. If we're gonna go that route, Dave, I think it is Halloween, so why the fuck not? I will give this movie 4.5 shotguns through the stomach, uh, because this movie still holds holds a deep pull on me. Out of all of the sequels, this one still does, as well as H20. These two sequels, I think, are far superior than most of the other films in this franchise, and I can watch this movie anytime. Like I
Yeah.
literally can still watch this movie anytime and be entertained and engaged, which I cannot be with some of the other sequels in this franchise. If we're all honest, like I said, I don't watch part 2 anymore unless I have to. I don't watch part 2. You know, but
Yeah. Yeah. I agree that I think this is one of the better of the sequels.
oh yeah,
It's definitely
and it's one of those sequels that it's a crowd pleaser, but it's also, in my opinion, a good sequel. Like you can have a crowd pleaser. Like a lot of people will see movies as a crowd pleaser, but they're not necessarily all that good. Like I'll take Anaconda, the original
Yeah.
Anaconda with Ice Cube and J Lo. That's a crowd pleasing movie, but it's not.
John Voight's the one that steals that movie, though.
Does
Man,
steal
that
that
shit.
movie.
Yeah. That shit.
And for everyone listening, the only reason why I bring that up is because, of course, the remake, reboot, re-slap is coming out this year, later on this year.
Yeah.
And
It looks fun though.
and if you know anything about the franchise, you can also check out the Chinese remake, which came out last year, which follows the story a whole hell of a lot closer than what the new one's going to do. But every movie's gonna get remade, rebooted, re-franchised out, and
Well, if you got a movie called Anaconda, you can bet it's going to get remade because that's what people want. Is that
there's already six Anaconda movies. You wonder how the hell that franchise lasted so damn long.
this new one though looks good. It's a meta version of it, so it's got with Jack Black and Paul Rudd in it, so that should be pretty good.
I don't know if it'd be good. It should be funny.
Yeah.
It should be fun. My wife wants to see this one.
Yeah.
I can't get her to see any horror movie to save her life, but she saw the trailer for that, and she's like, "Oh, I'm there."
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, it's not that much of a horror movie. It's got to have some horror in it, but it does look like it does have more comedy in it.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
And with that, I want to thank you, Dave, for joining us on Conversations in Horror for this discussion. We will be back later to talk about Halloween 5. So that means that for everyone out there who's listening to this podcast, please check out our episode on Halloween 5, which is also available on this great Halloween day. So make sure to have fun listening to both these episodes. This is a special double feature. Make sure to check out every previous episode of Conversation in Horror. We have already done episodes on Halloween 1, 2, 3, 6, and I think something else. I just can't. Oh, the Rob Zombies 1 and 2. We've skipped around with episodes on this franchise. So please feel free to check out those previous episodes to have a great Halloween this year and listen to all of them. Also, make sure to check out our new podcast, Conversations in Hammer Studio Horrors, which is every Friday at 8 a.m. And then come back and check out our Conversations in Four Colors podcast, which is on our Patreon page. You do have to be a subscriber and a follower in order to listen to that podcast. But if you are, you get to hear me talk about the latest comic books, manga, and graphic novels that I read and delve into. From all of us here, Something Wicked Entertainment and Conversations in Horror, have a pleasant day, and we will see you throughout this Halloween week. Conversations in Horror is a Broken Lighthouse Pictures production, written, produced, and directed by Kevin L. Powers, executive producer Kelly A. Inoka. All contents and material from this episode of Conversations in Horror is copyright 2025 Broken Lighthouse Pictures.